Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Maggie. This one was one very healthy run, and in a lot of the cases I do advise not having a lot of red health, just because having spirit hearts or at least only one red heart does allow you to access boss trap rooms and does give you a ton of points, but besides that you also do open up some possibilities to having some invisibility items, mostly the Polaroid, and then maybe that allows you to dodge a lot of damage later on. But I would say on runs that go to Mom, it's much better to have those particular, or just to have a lot of red health, because then you can use that red health in the blood machines, you can trade it for coins, or maybe you can use it in the sacrifice room so you can then pick up the red health off the ground and kind of keep going and keep sacrificing yourself until eventually you get to the dark room. And of course, the more red health you have, that means the more health you will have for that particular floor, for dark room and then you'll have more chances to beat it and actually complete the daily and just get a ton of points that way. And because we're Maggie, we also start with 4 red health, so we're in a very good position in that regard. And like I said, especially with the speed upgrade pill, Maggie feels such in a comfortable spot right now. She's really the character that you go to whenever you want to play a character that's solid to play, but at the same time you have a lot of red health. I would say that just because of this red health situation, Maggie is probably one of the best dailies. I mean, the best character you can get on a daily that goes only to Mom, just because of the implications I said before. Maybe I'm thinking if any of the other ones are maybe a bit more appropriate. Of course, Isaac is probably the best one just because you can get the shovel, or maybe you can reroll into some really good items, or just items that will allow you to break the game. But I would say Maggie, just base out because of the health and because of Yam Heart, does allow you to kind of do some things that maybe you can't really do with other characters. Besides that, this run was interesting. It was very straight. It was one of those dailies where you're really not looking for the seam, because the seam presents to you itself on a very silver platter. So it wasn't about using the die shard in a very particular room to maybe get the shovel, but it was more in the sense that everybody who played this at least somewhat decently found the shovel on the same devil deal, which was pretty much guaranteed because of how randomness works. And of course, when you find the shovel in a round that goes to Mom, there's really not many ways you can go from there. You will use the shovel after you beat Mom, you'll go to Womb 1, then Womb 2, and then Shoal. Maybe along the way you'll find the sacrifice room, and I always say that it's always good to take the sacrifice room. In this particular case, either on Womb 2 or Shoal. I would never take it on Womb 1, because you still have 2 more floors to explore, and I think if you do use the sacrifice room in Womb 1, you're just losing on a lot of potential points that you could have gotten. So in that case, I think it's a good idea to wait, and because it's so one-dimensional, I would say there's really not a lot of wiggle room in the sense that someone can find ways to break the game, which you can. And as I told you, this devil deal contained the shovel, and this is pretty much what I imagine everyone have found on this particular daily, which means that all of us have basically the same chance of breaking this game, finding the seam, and going a few more floors deeper to get a lot more points that way. But if you were kind of paying attention, I did make a few mistakes by actually being Dark Judas and with my health situation. And luckily, because I had there's options, I believe I also got a health upgrade, which allowed me to trade that 1 red health container for the shovel in the devil deal. So the first mistake I made was on the previous floor, and I had, I think, 4 red health, and 1 health container dropped, or at least 1 item that gives me a health container, and I decided to pick it up immediately, and that was really unwarranted because I saw the devil deal. What I should have done instead is went to the devil deal, used an item, or picked up an item that was in there, and then when I came out, just on the options that if I did find a respawn item, I would kill myself, and then I would still have a health container remaining, which I could pick up. In this case, this turned exactly to be exactly that, because I got Dark Judas in that devil deal, and because I picked up the health container previously as to when I went to the devil deal, that means that I essentially had to sacrifice that 1 red health container away, and I just picked up an item for no reason at all. In that case, it just cost me like points. I didn't really even get a health container out of it, so that was definitely a mistake. Albeit a very small one, but it was still a pretty major mistake, which could end up costing me the shovel on the next floor. So what happened on the next floor is I went to the boss, I beat it obviously, and the devil deal opened, and I had 3 spirit hearts in that case. I think I had 2.5, which means that even if I did go to the devil deal, I still wouldn't be able to afford an item without dying, because every item is 3 spirit hearts. So in that case, if I didn't get an HP upgrade on that particular floor, I mean in that particular boss room, I wouldn't be able to pick up the shovel, which means that basically I would lose like 15,000 points for not being able to explore the rest of the floors and just go a bit deeper. Thankfully, we did get that old bandage in that situation. So I guess the takeaway from this is, if you have a lot of HP, and a lot of red HP which you can trade away, it's always the better idea to go to the Devil Deal first, pick up the items, and then pick up the HP upgrade which you got from the boss, just on the off chance that maybe you can use that on the next floor so you can trade it on the next Devil Deals. But if you don't have a lot of HP, or if you have 0 HP, it's a good idea to pick up health previous to that, because going to the boss room then allows you to essentially, the Devil Deal allows you to essentially trade that 1 red health away for maybe a 2 heart item, and because you have a 2 heart item, that means maybe you can get a very potentially broken run, as opposed to just having 3 spirit hearts and then of course not being able to pick up that item at all. I hope that made sense, and it was definitely, like I said, a very major mistake in my play. Like I said, maybe it doesn't seem like a big mistake, but with Isaac, every single little mistake that you make can end up costing you the game, and I think this is a very prime example of how things could have gone wrong if I didn't get just a little bit lucky. The reason why I got lucky was also, you have to look at it that way, because I made this particular mistake. Even if someone else made the same mistake on today's daily, they still got saved by the fact that they also got an HP upgrade. Of course, you could just play better, not get hit as many times, and in that situation you would have more than 3 spirit hearts or 3 health, which you could then use to trade away for the shovel. But just because of how this daily worked out, I would imagine that everyone got the same deal, or at least the same items, so the same HP upgrade on that particular boss, and because of that everyone was able to afford the shovel. But of course, in a daily where you didn't get that HP upgrade in that particular situation, you would be rewarded for basically playing well and just remembering that you need to have at least 3 spirit cards to take that particular item. So like I said, in this case I did get a bit lucky, but so did everyone else, so I don't really feel too bad about it. But of course, I'm just kind of pointing it out, so maybe that we all know and we can learn when we play the next dailies to maybe maximize the chances of us actually breaking the game and finding the seam, which we're all looking for whenever we're playing these dailies. Another thing that I really wanted to point out here was that at this point we're basically on the self-sacrifice room lookout. So whenever we see a self-sacrifice room in WOMP 2 or the show, we're gonna take it, no questions asked. Of course, for that we need to have a lot of HP to trade away in that particular sacrifice room. A few ways of going about it is obviously just to have some health remaining. In this case we have 2 red hearts and we have a lot of red hearts just laying on the ground, so that's a pretty good situation for us. And we also have 9 lives, which means that if there's maybe an extreme situation, we could still trade our lives away in hopes of getting to the dark room and kind of sacrifice that. So all in all, we do have enough health to kind of use here, but maybe another even better thing is that we got the perk spill. And what the perk spill does is that it essentially reduces every damage you take to only half a heart instead of 1 full heart. So that's obviously very useful in sacrifice rooms, because that means you only need to essentially trade 6 full hearts away instead of 12 full ones. So in this case it turned out that the perk spill is probably the winner of this one. I even teleported to, I even used the blood bank on this floor and the demon beggar and the demon beggar, the demon judgment, I'm not too sure what he's called, but essentially the guy that you give red health to, and I was able to actually get a lot of points that way by getting the coins and the ivy back in this situation. So now we're in a very good position, because we have a lot of HP, we can essentially trade our spirit hearts away by using the ivy bag to gain some invisibility for the rooms, and we can essentially dodge a lot of damage. So just because this run wasn't very super strong and just allowed us to one-shot enemies, this ability actually came in handy a lot of times, and I think it did save me like 2,000 points in total, just because of how hard some of these rooms were. So that, in that sense, I would say that I think for that particular reason, investigating the pills beforehand is something that you should be doing. Sure, you sometimes get a battery pill, or maybe you get a tears down, or maybe an HP down, and that all sucks when it happens. But all in all, I would say that it outweighs, the positiveness. Okay, how can I put this? The amount of positive pills there are in the game far outweighs the negative pills that are in the game, and I think this is the reason why you should use them as soon as you get them, because if I didn't know that was a perk spill, I could have used it in a random room, and then I wouldn't be actually able to use the effect that it gives me to get to the dark room with a very healthy situation. And of course, I think I saved a lot of points that way. So in that case, I think using the pills early on does help the run a lot, just because you basically know what they are, and you can then use them later to kind of optimize the run. Whereas if you have a bad pill and you use it once, you know that it's a bad pill and you don't have to use it again. Sure, that maybe relies a bit on luck or maybe variance on just which pills you get throughout the run, but overall I would still say that it's a good idea to use pills whenever you find them, or at least try to maximize their usefulness so you can get maybe the most out of them in one particular situation. Overall, this was a very decent run. We finished in the 10th place, and our damage penalty was albeit a bit high, but that was also because we did take the sacrifice room. It could have been a lot higher, but the fact that we did have that perk spill also saved us a ton of points and damage penalty in that case, but the rest was pretty standard for me. Exploration bonus was maybe on the low side for this particular run, but overall I did complete boss rush and I did beat the lamp, which it gave me like a 9,000 point bonus. And overall, a 40,000 point score on a run that goes only to mom is a very, very decent score. And I would say just because on any run that goes to the lamp, it's the lamp, getting a 40,000 points is already decent enough, but obviously we didn't have Hush in this situation, so we really can account for that. So overall, a very, very good run. I did have some breaking potential there by using the jar, and I decided not to do it because the last time I broke with the jar, I was still placing like top 300, and I thought that this daily was gonna be the same, even though I felt like I played relatively well. I just didn't really want to bother with it, I guess, because I thought, you know, what's the point of breaking if I'm still gonna have a relatively bad score. In this case, it turned out that if I did use that jar and if I did get like a couple of thousand points extra, which I could do very easily, like a few minutes of breaking or just repeating and just using the hearts over and over again, it would actually place me in the first spot and I would definitely be in the top 3 tomorrow. As it is now, we're not, but nevertheless, at least it was a good run, at least I had fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. I hope to see you next time.